Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Nexus Insights. We are really excited today to be speaking with our guest, Miss Stephanie Silvin with Caring Transition. She is going to be sharing all sorts of stuff with us about her life, about her business, and just some interesting stuff. So it should be good. Steph, we're really excited to have you here. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So we usually like to start these out by just getting a chance to get to know the people. It's funny because now that we're talking, I was totally calm beforehand. And as soon as we started, now I'm like, oh man, I am kind of nervous. But this is going to be good. So I'll take all those nerves and I'll kick it off, and just absorb them. But just like I said, we usually like to start just with an overview of who you are, what you do, tell us a little bit about your business, and then kind of we'll backtrack from there into what your story is and run from there.
So, Stephanie Silvin, I was born and raised in Missoula, and I've been running Caring Transitions of Western Montana for almost 8 years, which is pretty amazing right now. So Caring Transitions specializes in downsizing our seniors, helping them move, relocate, sell their things on an online auction, CT bids, and then we do full house cleanouts. So a lot of complexity goes into that. But I realized in life that I just want to help people. That is my mission here on earth. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Well, and so when we were talking, obviously, beforehand, just you were talking about some of the things that influenced you. And just as we go, I really like to start with what got people to where they're at, because I think so often people see this, not finished. Of course, we're all still developing, but they see the product as is right now. And they're like, oh, that's so polished. And how did someone get to be there? And sometimes I think it's really easy when we're looking or hearing from someone to forget that, hey, they had a normal childhood. They did all the same things. They had all the same struggles. So I know when we were talking, you were, mentioned that about sports that you were playing, coaches, stuff like that made a difference to you. Do you mind just start with your childhood and a little bit about what that looked like?
Yeah, so that's a loaded question. Yeah. Because I'm the same way when I look at other people, right? You judge them based on what they give you, but people are so complex. There's so much history there. So let's go back to my childhood. Born and raised in Missoula. I have an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. And I started sports from a young age. And let me tell you, the influence my coaches had on me, the structure. I'm a very type A person. I will tell any and everybody that. I believe in processes. I believe in structure. I believe in goals. I believe in schedule. Pretty black and white. You can ask anybody in my circle. And that came from my childhood, right? Competition as well came from sports. I played soccer 1 year when you were 5, like almost every kid, right? You start with soccer. I've never played again. However, I have coached my 3 children in soccer.
Nice.
Because again, that's the sport that we all start with.
Yeah.
Then I went into basketball and softball, a lot of team sports in high school. Then I went to tennis. I played singles and doubles, but I had never picked up a tennis racket prior to high school, unless it was like PE class, right? We ended up going to state. It was great. But I think it goes back to like that dedication, right? And the commitment to whatever you sign up for. So now I'm actually teaching my kids the commitment. You want to play softball this spring, baseball this spring, we're going to commit regardless of what happens.
That's one thing that my wife and I, when we talk so much, is that you don't have to do it again, but we're not quitting halfway through. And I know for me, something that gets on my nerves, because we've coached a lot, with my son, and you have parents who are very much like that. Oh, you fell. Come on, you can sit out. Or, oh, you don't have to show up to practice today. Like that drives me insane, because I feel like it's breeding weakness in our children.
100%.
And so, and I know growing up, it was very much the same for me, is that, if you signed up or if you said you were going to do something, like come hell or high water, you're doing that thing, and then you finish it up. And then if you don't like it, you can keep moving on and do something else. And also I was laughing because I'm reading a book right now that's called Surrounded by Idiots. And it's very much based on like the DISC analysis, where the different personality types. And the reason I bought it was my wife was talking about it, and then I didn't know what it was about. She watches this. She's like, oh my gosh. But I was like, am I one of the idiots she's thinking about? What is she reading? And so I went into it. But it's funny listening to you. So like, oh, I'm very, this way, because that's how I am too. It's like, I'm very much like, oh, I have these set goals. I'm going to do this. And then sometimes the other things like, worrying about feelings or how this impacts other people. I'm like, oh, they'll be fine. They'll get over it. So
well, the thing is too, is you probably are an idiot at some era of your life. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We'll just go right there. The first time she talks, just so you know, Rob, you probably are an idiot. I just want to circle back to that.
Well, it's like surrounded by idiots. I think everyone feels that way at some point.
Oh my gosh,
Can I add on to that though, real quick? Is as we continue to level up, as I'm continuing to do in my business, you want to be in a room where you are the idiot.
That's fair.
I have no idea what this book is about, right? But I was in a room last year and I didn't know a single person in that room. And I felt like an idiot. And everything they were talking about was out of my scope. But that's the only way we grow.
And you have so much value to give too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you're an idiot doesn't mean you don't have value.
That's fair. I'm sure.
Don't we all start out as an idiot?
I think what I'm picking up is that all the women surrounding me are saying I'm an idiot. So maybe I need to really pay more attention.
I would dive deeper into that. Right?
Yeah.
Also, sorry, go ahead. Actually,
go.
No, this is maybe like going back to one thing you said, but you did say something that I would like you to talk a little bit more about. But,
sure.
but you said you judge people based on what they are able to give you. Like, can you elaborate on that more?
I would say not necessarily myself, but in society, right? That we judge people based on what they can give us today and here and now. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's like the cover of a book. Mm-hmm. You have to read the chapters. You have to understand who that person is versus just the cover, versus just judgment. So when I walk into a room, I know I'm instantly judged. They have no idea what's happening, right? I'll just give you reality right now. 2 days ago, I found out my cousin passed away. Nobody in my circle has any idea.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I think it's important to not judge people when you instantly meet them or you see them in a weekly networking meeting because you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. It's actually getting to know that person and understanding what's going on and what makes them who they are and what they've been through. It's an interesting concept.
And I think that was what really... one of the things that made me want to have you on the podcast was that, and so the way that we met was just through the business development group that we're both in, obviously in different chapters, but, and I love biz because I feel like I meet so many good people through it. But just listening to when you came in and you were talking at our group and just, filling in for someone and just kind of telling a little bit about your business and how it works. I know we'll get into all this, but when you're talking about, some of the situations you see from people who, just the way that you're able to help them in a really tough time when they are downsizing, or just some of the crazier things when you see people who are, having issues with hoarding. And I don't want to make light of that because I know that it's a struggle that people go through, but I'm sure it makes things interesting. And I guess there's been a TV show about it. So if they make a TV show, maybe I guess we can talk more about it there. Sure. But, I think that was really what kind of stood out is just that even in that first few minutes when you were at Biz and you were talking, I could see that you were genuinely passionate about what you're doing and what it's doing for the people that you're serving. And then another thing I thought was super interesting was just how you guys also have, the website where you're able to go in and help people list the things that they are trying to downsize and just make it available where it's not like, I don't know, I guess I think of the traditional, almost like an estate sale, you show up and it's right there in front of you. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool thing. You have an app, you're able to go in, you're able to get this out there. So it's not just people here in small town Missoula, but it's, I don't know if it's globally, but definitely here throughout the United States. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Nationwide. Yeah. I think that I don't ever feel like I'm working a day in my life, right? Other than when I was working retail, that's my past, right? I was a store manager at Eddie Bauer for 7 years. And I finally realized who I am as a person, that I love to help people in any capacity. What does that look like? Right. Yeah. So definitely have passion for helping people through difficult times because I understand. I've been there myself. That's why I started Caring Transitions. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. And kind of going through that with no resources here in town. And so I feel like I need to be that resource for other people going through that. So definitely a passion to help them get through that. And that's our number one priority when we're hiring team members, that you have to have a passion to help people. I have never asked anybody in an interview if they have passion, but every single person in our team has said that to me during an interview. And
when we were chatting before about your grandfather, and I don't know how far you want to go into that, but I thought that was really powerful, what you shared with just kind of his story and how, from the man that you knew him to be versus where he was kind of at towards the end of his life and what he was dealing with, and just how that affected you and really kind of influenced the way that you went with life. I mean, do you mind sharing a little bit about that, or just kind of how, how that led you to where you're at right now?
Sure. I was living in New Mexico at the time. Me and my husband went down there for 4 long years, really, really long years. And I was back for a visit. And I remember clear as day walking up the stairs, and my grandfather turned violent to my grandmother, and none of us knew what to do. And I was like, something is terribly wrong with him. But he was the sweetest man prior to that, right? Like, he was a pilot. He worked at the airport here in Missoula. He would go to the airport every single morning to have coffee with his guy clubs. Nice. Old men do that. And he just had a zest for life and took care of his family. And so when he turned violent, like, none of us as his family knew how to support him and help him. And so I had a business partner. So when he asked me to be his business partner, that was my why of like, I want to be that point person for other family members going through this, because I've gone through it myself. And we ended up finding him a home here in Missoula and getting him to a safe place. And then luckily he passed away in 30 days because it was no way to live, right? Yeah. It was challenging for all of our family members. So yeah, that's to the core of why I do what I do. Where
do you get that from? I mean, when you look at your life, and it's obviously like, it's the way that you talk about caring for people and putting people's needs, like, it seems like that's such a big part of who you are. I mean, is that just kind of how it's always been? Do you feel like you learned that? Do you feel like it's something that you've just always kind of been really in tune with people's emotions, or where does that come from?
Probably my childhood, right? My parents. I grew up with a mom and a dad in the household till I was 17, and I had 2 sets of grandparents, right? Saw them every single weekend, and we went to the lake in the summertime, and just family oriented. I was never a big possession person, right? I was more about family and doing things, creating things, cooking with my grandmother, doing the garden out in the backyard, being present. And so I think family is really important. It's something that we're always going to have, right? Now, you can't choose your family, but you can choose to have a relationship with your family. And I strongly believe that. Yeah. And you don't have to be blood related, right? You get to choose the people that you surround yourself with, but you've got to make sure that you take care of those people, because that's all we've got in this world.
And then with that, I know too, like we started talking about it, but you mentioned coaches that were influential. And I think when we were talking off camera before, you'd said there were 2 specific coaches that really kind of shaped who you were and just the person you became. What was the experiences there? Because I have something similar. I know growing up playing soccer, and he's still a really good friend of mine today, my buddy Adrian. I played on a soccer team where his dad was the head coach. His mom was like, not team mom. She was, but not quite an assistant coach, but she was at every practice, at every game. And these people, other than my parents, and I mean, I don't know, other than my mom and my dad and my stepdad, my coach Ben was probably the most influential person in my life, because I spent so much time with them. And he was probably the person who showed me what it was to, like, what it meant to never quit. And I asked you a question, but I'm telling a story, but so sorry about that. But I mean, this was something that I will never forget, because I played up when I played club soccer. I played like on a U17 team when I was 13. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm really good at this. And then I started playing on a team where everyone was older than me. And Ben, we were doing this drill where he would typically have one person go with one person and they get a rest. And then he made me go against everyone on the first practice I ever went to the point where I was exhausted. And I just never thought more about quitting anything in my life besides that day. And
you were the idiot in that room?
I wasn't the idiot. I was just not as good as I thought I was. And so, but anyways, as I talked to him later on, because we became really good friends, and he told me, he's like, oh, I was trying to get you to quit. He's like, I didn't think you were going to make it. I wanted you to quit if you were going to quit. But I learned so much for that. And then, and there was things like that really influence a lot of what I did further on in life, even when I went to the military. And I remember like even going through like the selection process to get in the Ranger Regiment. This sounds weird, but it was easier for me to go through selection than it was for me to be that 13-year-old kid on that soccer field, because it was so hard for me. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done up to that point. And so I think of things like that, or I think of him like pulling us aside at soccer games and just like literally, like, you couldn't do this in today's day and age, but he would walk us away from the field when we were playing really shitty. And he'd be like, you guys are playing like And then he just like start cussing us out, like, but it wasn't love. Like he loved us. He was like, I expect better, you know? And so you couldn't do that today.
It's definitely a different environment.
But yeah, so I mean, what was it with sports and the coaches that you had? How did they influence you? How did that impact your life and kind of turn you to the person you are today?
Yeah, so two pretty impactful people. One was in middle school at CS Porter that's still standing today. Mike Schwab. We call him Big Mike. He's a very large man that would give the best teddy bear hugs, right? So he was like that soft place to fall, but also would run your ass, right? So volleyball, basketball, all of the middle school sports. He still coaches today. I'm still friends with him today. He's now out of state. But I think it was like tough love. Like you knew if something was going on in your home, which happened to some of my teammates, he would be there for you, right? Counselor, talk you through the tough things of life. But at the end of the day, he was going to push you to never quit. Like absolutely, we don't quit. You're here. Like run these, the lines in basketball. So definitely influenced on me. And then in high school, I had Skyla Cisco. I don't know if you know her. She played for the Lady Grizz. And she actually recently passed away last year. So there's a lot of women in Missoula that know her and look up to her. And when I was younger, I would go to Lady Grizz. We would have season tickets to Lady Grizz basketball. And it was, man, one day I want to play on this court. Like, it was just amazing. And like cheering for them. And again, committed to that team, right? Committed to that season and winning and pushing through. I remember Kate on the Lady Grizz as well. We just won the championship that year and how amazing that felt, but it was a team. That's the thing, like being part of a team. Like I may be the CEO of my company, but I am nothing without my team, right? Yeah. I may be the best mom, but I'm nothing without my husband, right? The best wife, but you got to have a husband to be the best wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Katie. I'm sorry. I'm just talking to my wife now. That's right.
So I think that surrounding yourself with an amazing team, whatever that looks like, professional, personal life, to build you up is pretty amazing. And I remember Skyla just, again, pushing us to the brink, driving us like hardcore. But at the end of the day, at the end of the season, you were like, I got through that.
Yeah.
Right? Like we get through 100% of our hard days.
Yeah. And so when you were in high school, I mean, initially, I'm sure you didn't imagine yourself in the position you're at with the business you have. I mean, I don't think anyone grows up saying like, oh, I want to go into helping people as they're like downsizing or, help going through selling their stuff. Like, what did you originally want to do? And what did that look like while you were in high school? Like, what did you see for your future initially?
I wanted to be an attorney.
Really?
Oh, that's so fun. Me too.
Thank goodness I'm not, right? But I can argue a case, that I will tell you. And then I wanted to be a store manager. And I got that when I was 20.
So what caused you to switch from like, okay, I wanted to go the attorney route, and then you going to retail? Like, what was there anything that you're just like, oh, never mind, I changed my mind, or what was that?
I think part of it was schooling. I was not ready to go to college at 18. I don't believe you should go to college at 18 if you're not ready to just pay all that money. I think it's silly.
Or don't know what it is
that you want to do.
That you want to do, or what being attorney actually looks like. Because I think we have an idea in our heads. Because I remember being younger and just being like, yeah, I'm going to be an attorney. It's going to be so fun.
Correct.
Because I knew that I had ambition, but I was like, yeah, that seems like a smart path.
I wanted to wear the blazers and walk into the courtroom in my heels. And
you wanted to look the part?
Absolutely.
Nice.
You watched Legally Blonde and you're like, yep.
I'm like, no way. I never want to be an attorney. Too many hours. I think it's hard balance with children and husband in life if you look at them later in life. And so I was working at Sears when I was 16. That's actually where I met my husband. And so that was kind of, good nighttime job. At a young age. And so I just continued to work up that ladder. And then I was an assistant store manager at Sears at 18. And so I decided to just keep on that path. I really didn't have a desire. I actually thought I would be married at 18 or 20. And so I was like, great.
It happens a lot in the Valley. Around here in small town Missoula, we're all like, oh yeah, everyone that kind of assumes that that's what's going to happen. So and so with your husband, Sean, like I know, and you referenced this earlier. So you guys met when you were both working at Sears then, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay. And then, so how old were you guys when you got married?
So I met him at 16. We didn't get married until I was 27.
Okay.
We started dating at 20.
Okay. But you guys moved to New Mexico, is that right?
Yep. Right after I turned 20, we moved to New Mexico. He was in the military. And so he went down there on the Border Patrol, and then he is a pilot.
Okay.
Blackhawks, and then he
that?
got a job with the state police.
Nice.
Why such a long engagement? And did you like it?
So we got actually engaged today, you guys.
What?
We got engaged
Congratulations.
today.
Congrats.
13 years ago. Yeah, up at Isaac Walton Inn.
Nice.
That's crazy.
That is great.
But then we got married June 1st. So we were just together for 7 long
You wanted to
years.
make sure
that
he's the
I
right
will
one?
never let him live that down. Yeah.
Was-
He wanted to make sure I was the right one.
Really?
He said, if we're going to go to New Mexico, this isn't plain house. And I was like,
Because some people
Great.
love long engagements, and then other
No,
people think that if
silly.
you have long engagements, it means that it's not right.
that is correct.
Yeah.
I would agree on that. We were together for 7 years. Then we got engaged in January, got married June 1st.
Okay. Wow. And you guys, you have how many kids again?
3.
That's what I thought. Okay. And so I know when we were talking before that, and again, go as much or as little into this as you want to, but that having kids wasn't an easy thing for you guys at first. And so there was a process that you guys went through and going through IVF. And I like talking about that stuff because I don't know how it happens, but there's some subjects that I feel like get to be like this taboo thing, like, oh, like IVF being one of them, or like another thing for me as a guy. I'm on testosterone. I'm very open about it. I don't know why people hide it. Like, hey, I've got my levels checked. I'm doing it through a medical professional. Like, I'm doing it the right way. But sometimes people are like, oh, you're basically on steroids. Like, yeah, I guess basically, but so what? Like, I'm trying to live a long, healthy life. So, as
With
far
those
as
energy drinks?
okay, you know what? These have 10 calories. How could
It's
they be
not about
bad?
the calories. It's the chemicals that
Ghost.
are killing your insides.
I want to be sponsored by Ghost too. All right,
This is going to be a
Ghost.
health and wellness podcast, and then it's just going to be
No,
like with the
it could
ghost.
never-
We're so healthy here.
Yeah, it could never be a health and wellness because I don't. Yeah, no,
You're not quite there yet.
no, not at all. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, with with your kids and with all that stuff there too. So you guys went to New Mexico. You came back, and then was it in New Mexico that you guys had your first child, or was it when you guys got back out
No,
here?
it was back here. So we
Okay.
came back with the plan of like buying a house. And then in my mind as a woman, I'm like, I'm going to get married and have kids, right? That's the plan. That's what we were raised. Everybody talks about the American dream, the white
Yeah.
picket fence. I'm like, let's do it. I'm ready, waiting.
Yeah.
I almost left him, by the way. But
Oh,
anyways,
that's a fun. Well, you can't just say that. But whoa, all right. He's like, wait a second. I didn't even know she almost left me.
Oh, no.
He's
He
aware.
knows.
My wife almost left me as well, and so I think as guys, especially because again, being in the military, when I was in the military, I was deployed half of the year, or like even when you're back, you're in a training cycle. So it's always something. And so like, I don't know, I was not convinced, but I very much understood like I could easily die very soon, And so I think for guys, we get into this, like, I know for me, it's like you get into the mode of like, I'm just going to live my life to the fullest. And even when my wife and I argue, we had an argument a few months ago that was very eye-opening. And I think we talked about this the first time we met when we were grabbing coffee because, she said, Robert, the problem is you always do what you want to do. And I was like, oh, she's right. And then I started really looking at the way that I live my life versus the way that she lives her life. And don't get me wrong, we're all selfish to a degree and we all do that to some degree. But like, I'm very much like, nope, that's what I'm going to do. That makes sense. And so I just kind of do it. But like, I think that mentality is what it's what caused my wife to almost be like, I'm done with you. But then we also joke where like she's said like, yeah, you were like a penny stock where it's like, no one else could see the value, but I was like, man, if this guy just gets his stuff together, he's going to be so great. And I think I kind of came through, but for years, I'm very convinced that some of our really good family friends were like telling her like Katie, Robert's not the one, like just let that one go. So I don't know. I mean, that was kind of with us, we went through something similar, but yeah, it's always fun to hear the women are like, yeah, it almost was like, I couldn't deal with this one anymore.
Well, I thought it was 5 years that he had to wait. They actually told my mom, like, he's probably looking at 5 years. So we're at almost 7 years, right? Christmas comes and he gets me a small box in a scavenger hunt. Never give a small box to a woman unless it's the ring. Okay.
Was it a necklace?
I don't even remember. Probably earrings or something. I was so pissed. His mom was there and I walked
Not
out.
the scavenger hunt too.
And a scavenger hunt. I'm like, this is it.
He's probably like, get your nails done, do the scavenger hunt.
See,
Don't
we
you
as
love
guys
your
are like,
necklace?
okay,
was so
guys are like,
pissed.
oh man, I really put thought into this. She's going to like
Correct.
this a lot.
Oh yeah, that's what he thought. I went in and I cried and I was like, I am leaving this man. And then, right, so 25th, Christmas, I'm like, I'll wait till New Year's. You can ask his two best friends. everybody gave him so much crap that night of like, dude, are you going to pop the question? By the way, he's like, I've already had the ring for months. So now he's feeling anxious. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, it's today. Because I almost left him on New Year's because I was so
I
pissed.
can't do this anymore.
The outside noise of like, how are you still with this man? And I'm like, in the back of my mind, if I'm going to be with him forever, does it really matter?
That's fair.
But at the same time, I've been with this man for 7 years. I want to have kids. I believe in marriage, all of the things. So,
Yeah.
and then he did it a week later, which he had already had a plan on New Year's. So he felt like an ass. But yes, he doesn't live that down ever.
I mean, for guys, we just are not that bright. I think we miss a lot of that stuff sometimes.
Like idiots.
Well, I think it's so hard because like you said, your wife like called you a penny stock, but I also feel like that can be so negative to tell other people of like, you never know, like they could change. You should just stay with them.
Don't
and
be a
there's
fixer.
sometimes there's pressure to be with people when you know they're not the right person. And like I think that you guys were the exception and not the rule.
Oh, my wife and I, we joke all the time about like if you were to look at the way our relationship started, and it's like we are the example that there's someone out there where there's like a girl telling her girlfriend, just leave him, it'll never work. And she's like, no, I know this one couple, it worked and they're so happy. Like we
There's
literally
a movie
joke
on
about
it
that.
too.
Yeah, there should be. I mean, it's so yeah. I mean, but when I met my wife, like I tried to break up with her like after a couple of months of dating because I was getting ready to deploy. And so I was like, she's like, and I broke up with her and she's like, basically is like, no, we're not breaking up, you know? And so just things like that. But guys, we're just, I don't know. Girls are different. We don't know what we're doing.
Men and women are different. That is a fact.
Yeah. So, anyways, and I apologize
Okay, so
because
let's
we were
go
talking
back
about
to the kids,
yes,
right? Because
yes,
I do
that's
love,
what I originally started.
I
See,
do
this is what
love-
happens.
Sorry.
It's what do they call it? Trump calls it the weave. We weaves back in. I don't know if that's what we're doing. We're coming back.
It's like also on the same line. Have you read the book like Women Are Spaghetti and Men Are Waffles? So it's like
No.
men have to be in like specific waffle. It's a book, but it's basically how different men and women think, whereas
100%.
men think in one box and they can only fit in that box at one time and then they hop from one box to the other. But women are spaghetti where it's like just completely intertwined and different. You can go down like a different rabbit hole every 2 seconds. And
Yes.
so thanks for bringing us back to the box. And
yeah, we're back. We brought it back. Here we go.
All right, so let's talk about my kids because
Yes.
I do love them dearly. So I have a 6, 8, and 10-year-old. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. And I'm like, great.
Perfectly
It was
planned out.
not
Yeah.
planned out. My husband wanted the honeymoon child. So we were in Hawaii having our amazing honeymoon. We're going to get pregnant. That did not happen. So we had to do Clomid, which is the pill typically that you do before IVF. It's horrible. It's PMS every single day. And then you have to have scheduled sex. Listen, that's not fun. I don't care who you are.
No.
It is not fun. So we ended up getting pregnant on that. And then we had a miscarriage, which for anyone that's gone through that gets it. It's challenging. But for me, like you got to move on, right? We're still living. So we ended up getting pregnant right after that miscarriage when you were not supposed to have sex. We had sex and got pregnant. And that's our oldest 10 years later. And so then after that struggle, it was about 1.5 years of struggle. We went straight to IVF and did IVF. And we had 2 embryos, and our second child, the son, is one of those embryos. And then the other one died that day. So it was like meant to be. And then our third was an oops. Me crying on the stairs when the doctor called me and said, you're pregnant. And I was like, what?
How is this possible?
No.
My
So, everything has a journey. Everything is a journey, right? Yeah. And I think that we can plan. I am a planner. I believe in planning, right? 2026, what is this year going to look like? But Absolutely. I also believe in mindset. And having the right mindset in any situation, and that things are going to go different than planned. And my 6-year-old is spunky and a rugrat and just like her mom, right? And so without her, I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have a mini me. And so, things are meant to happen for sure.
And so I can relate with what you're saying. I mean, for my wife and I, our son, Lincoln, we talked about Lincoln from probably within about a month of when we started dating. Like we were like, oh, one day we're going to have a little Lincoln. And we just talked about him. And then he was not an accident. We decided to have him before we were married because both of us had been married before. And so we weren't like committed to like, oh, we have to do it this way. Like we're just like, we know we want to be together, but we wanted to have our son. And so she got off birth control. And literally within 3 weeks, she was pregnant. Like I just remember we were in the dollar store because like she was, you know, things change when girls get pregnant. Like it just is what it is. And so like her boobs got bigger. She was like, I don't know, I feel weird. And I was like, I think you're pregnant. She's like, there's no way, Robert, it doesn't work like that. I was like, I think I know how people get pregnant, you know? And we were in the dollar store and they had just like these little pregnancy tests. And I was like, let's just buy 2 of them. So we bought 2, went back to the house and like just peed on the stick. And immediately it's like positive. It's like, oh, wow, that was easy. And so Lincoln was just, we already knew it was like, oh, it's going to be Lincoln. And so, and sure enough. And then we decided to wait about a year after he was born to try again, and we could not get pregnant to save our lives. And so, and then we didn't go through IVF, but we did go through where, you know, basically I had to walk into a room and provide a sample, which as a man is extremely humiliating. It is not fun to walk into a clinic, be given a little cup, and then they send you into this room where every other guy who goes in that clinic goes in that same room and everyone's doing the same thing. You feel gross. So we did that for, I think like a year and a half and just could not get pregnant. And so we just ended up, you know, I have my daughter from my previous marriage and then we have Lincoln, but you know, it's kind of weird how I think in today's day and age, like we all grow up just thinking like, oh, it's easy to have kids and everyone just gets pregnant. And it's like, it's really not the way it works all the time. I mean, unless you come from Josie's family where you have a huge family and I guess everyone gets pregnant all the time, right?
Okay.
There are some families that have 6+ kids, right? Yeah. Or 9+ kids for sure.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I'm jealous of that I never got is I never got to pee on a stick.
Really?
I tried, but when I was pregnant, it wasn't even positive, by the way. So that's why I had to go to the doctor.
Wait, how is that?
I have no idea. I took a test with our third and it said negative. So I was like, we're not, and my husband, you're pregnant. He like knew it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll just go to the doctor because I've never had a positive test.
That's
Isn't that crazy?
That is very interesting.
Everybody has their own
You
stories.
missed out.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, it is one of those things. Like it's the thing of like, you know, it's kind of like that song. Next Thing You Know, have you heard that song?
Yes.
That's the like that song is
that
so
song.
like as I've gotten further in life, you know, because I'm essentially middle aged. I'm almost 40, and so it's one of those things like I remember this part of my life. Like I remember like, oh yeah, you meet someone like it, and we kind of glossed over like how you met Sean, and you know, and I'd be curious to hear more about that Sears romance that was happening there, you know, just seeing the person while you guys both work in retail. But yeah, I look at like with my wife and I, we met on a Thursday night at line dance lessons, you know, it was nothing special. And it's funny because, she hates when I tell this, but it is what it is. But again, both of us were married before. And so she had the day that we met was the day that her ex finally decided to sign their papers because they were getting divorced. So
that
like
just gave me the chills.
I know. So she thought she was going out to just like, she would be like, yeah, I was about to go into my wild stage. I was just about to have fun and start dating around. And sure enough, you know, I just sauntered over there and, you know, we started dancing. And it was funny because I met her and then like a typical guy, I walked up to her, we danced, and I walked back up and she's like, do you remember my name? I was like, do you remember mine? She's like, yeah, it's Robert. I was like, dang it. And she's like, my name's Katie. You will never forget it again. I was like, okay, I got you. And she was
ma'am.
It was pretty much like, all right, yep, sounds good. And then then you just kind of look at the way that life goes. It's like, it's funny to watch all that
Here's
stuff.
something that I need to make very clear. I met my husband when I was 16. He was loss prevention manager. We never dated until I left that store.
Really?
No Sears romance.
No Sears. There's a lot of Sears romance in Missoula, by the way.
I mean,
yeah. So I was in high school at 16, right? He's 10 years older than me. So he was 26.
Maybe it's a good thing no Sears, Sears romance.
Okay, so I want to clarify some stuff.
Okay. Sean's like, please clarify. Please clarify. Okay, she's clarified now. He's over here like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. You're good, man. We got you.
So I got promoted to like a lead part-time manager. And so we worked together again. He was dating another gal. I was actually engaged as a senior in high school to a man that, thank goodness, I didn't marry him. But after that breakup, I was basically like, I'm going to say no to all men and do the career. And so then I got promoted to Sears in Great Falls as an assistant store manager. The first weekend after I moved to Great Falls, I didn't know anybody. Sean's dad's best friend passed away. Death is like surrounding me in life. But anyways, so Sean's best friend's dad passed away. So Sean had to come over for a funeral. And then he took me out to dinner like a nice gentleman. right? And I said, oh, okay, whatever. It's just dinner, right? But it is our official date. Yeah. I count that as our official first date. Yeah. He picked me up. He opened the door. He paid for dinner. He came back to my apartment.
That's 100% a date.
Right?
Yeah.
And he didn't try anything.
Yeah. That's
even
a date.
better. Loved it.
Yeah.
So that's when it started.
My wife and I, we met on a Thursday, and then we ended up not hanging out that Friday because she had plans. But it was one of those things, like we talked until the bar closed. We didn't even realize, like, they were like, you guys have to leave. And it's a Thursday night. I have formation at 5:30 the next day. And I'm like, holy crap. And so she goes, see, I was hard trying to be like, we should just leave. Let's go. She's like, I'm not going home with you tonight. I was like, all right, good for you. And so then
You're such a typical man.
Oh, I was in full Ranger mode. I was like, look.
It's so funny because every time I'm like, yeah, good for her.
Yeah, yeah, everyone's rooting for her. I'm telling you, like, I'm not joking when our friends were like, when they found out we were dating, they're like, Katie, so you're like dating Robert? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, see, Robert seems like a really good, like, have fun type of guy, but dating him. And so then we ended up going out on our first official date that Saturday. And it's so random because we have a photo from it because there was someone walking around. We went to a different country bar. And so there's someone walking around and just taking photos. Like, you want to take a photo? I was like, sure. And we have that photo. So like a photo from our very first date.
Oh,
and we just look like kids, like, oh yeah, so it's just funny how all that works. But, let's do real quick. Let's take a quick break just because I want to double check on just some of this stuff here. Make sure our batteries are good. We can stop for a second. We'll come back in just a moment. Sound good?
Great.
All right. So we are back from our break. We spent the first half just talking and getting a chance to just, learn more about your stuff and kind of how you got to where you're at. But I really wanted to start diving into more about your role as a business owner, what that looks like. And, like we were talking about early on, is that it's very common for people to see what they consider as the finished product and not see everything that it took to get to where you're at. And, one thing that really made me want to do this podcast when Josie and I were first talking about this as an idea was just that there's a great book that's called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And the idea of the book is that if someone came to the average person and said, hey, you have to make double your income this year, the average person would then think about, how can I work harder? I'm going to work on the weekends. I'm going to wake up earlier, and they would just do more of what they're already doing versus if I came and said, hey, you need to 10X your income, in this period of time. It creates a completely different problem. It's no longer, none of us can work 10 times harder. So now it becomes, okay, well, how can I leverage things? What can I do to be more efficient? And so I think that we're in a spot where sometimes when we're on this path, and I know I'm the same way, is that we forget that we are most likely at someone's 10X already, because there's someone out there who, looking at what you're doing, the life you live, the fact that you work for yourself, that you have a team of people, that you're able to, do what you're doing, there's someone out there who would kill to be in your spot, and you're at their 10X. And so, I wanted to kind of start with how you got into your career path. I know we spent a little bit of time earlier when you were talking about having a business partner. And I know you've shared a little bit about how that didn't go ideally. So we don't have to go super in detail, but I love if you're open to just maybe talking about dealing with a negative partnership, because that's a part of life that people sometimes don't realize is like, hey, when you go into business, it doesn't always work out the way you think. But yeah, maybe let's start talking about, like, just with your line of work, what that's looked like from where you started to where you're at and kind of how you got there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say I'm someone's 10X. It's wild to me to think about that because I always think about where I started, right? Even at Caring Transitions, that I was sitting on my ottoman with my husband and my business partner, having the discussion of, like, could this business even work in Montana? Would it even be profitable?
What year was this?
2018.
Okay, 2018.
Yep, 8 years ago. We launched May 2nd of 2018. And so this conversation was probably in February of that year. And do I want to leave my store manager position at Eddie Bauer? I had 2 children at the time. I had an 8-month-old.
Also, what was the startup cost, if you don't mind me asking? Was it really expensive to start?
No. So Caring Transitions franchise is a small business, so it's under $100K.
Okay.
Yep. So, so when we went back to, like, what did I want to be when I was a kid, right? It was an attorney, a store manager, got both of those, and it was an entrepreneur. But, like, how do I get there, right? And what does that really look like in my 20s? So I just stayed in retail and did what I was good at. And so then when this opportunity came up, my husband and I had multiple conversations of like, what does that look like for our family? Financially, schedule, all of the things. Well, if I look at being a store manager, what was the next step up, right? Because I'm all about growth or you're dying. And so the only step up from store manager was a district manager, which meant travel away from my family. So I absolutely didn't want that. So then this was the other pathway, or I could stay doing what I was doing. But I've realized over the years that I'm a builder. I could run Eddie Bauer as a store manager with my eyes closed. Like, it was easy for me. I loved it, but it was easy. Like, I love challenges, right? That probably goes back to my competition side of being sports and always winning. Like, I love to have a challenge and get through that challenge. And so anyways, I decided to take the leap and be an entrepreneur. And it was from the ground up. Literally, I love our home office. Thank you for the support. However, it was like a business card and like, go help seniors. And so we just went out and started knocking on doors and referral partners and making connections in the community. And we would rent dump trucks, take them to the landfill. Wow. We would take donations anywhere and everywhere around town. We would try to sell things. CT Bids, that online platform that you talked about, was not CT Bids 8 years ago. CT Online, it was nothing, right? I mean, the technology in the last 8 years has been tremendous, specifically during COVID as well. And so we didn't have that platform probably until about 4 years ago. Okay. That was a good platform to sell things nationwide. So we just built it up, me and my business partner. We hired a couple of people, learned a ton of things, how to manage people, which I knew is retail, but it's different when it's your business, right?
And with that, I'm sorry to interrupt. So like, how did you learn that? Because it sounds like from where even, when you first got involved with Caring Transitions and where the franchise was at then versus even now, it sounds like it's come a long way.
A ton.
I mean, what was the process for yourself? Like, if you go back and you look at, early Stephanie 8 years ago and you're just learning, how did you learn how to do this?
It's all hands-on. I'm definitely a hands-on person, like just doing it. I did everything. I had the colored vest that went to the landfill. I rented the truck. I got the trailer connected and covered it. Just figuring it out. Like, the fact that people hired us, like, I'm amazed at now, looking back, right? But for me, I was like so energetic, and I'm a salesperson and I can sell you anything because I believe in it. Like, I knew if you signed a contract with me, I become your family. I'm going to do anything and everything. I will figure it out. But when I'm talking to you, I'm going to give you a plan, and then I figure it out. Those first, even 6 months to a year, like, I've had to sign a contract and then figure out how to make sure those numbers work and the client got moved or the house got cleaned out. Now I have a process. I'm a process person. I have a full team. I have a director. I have a full-time manager and then part-time employees that help us through the project. And so, but that was also a plan, right? So once I knew how to do it, then I can teach other people how to do it. But I had to learn it. I 100% believe that as an entrepreneur. In order to grow your team, you have to learn, know what you're doing in order to speak to them. Yeah. It is a little bit different when I see my team today or when they see me. They see me in the nice dress clothes when I'm going to a consult. They don't see me in the t-shirt and jeans and tennis shoes going to the landfill with them. Half of my team doesn't even know I used to do that.
That's funny.
It's different growth, right? Yeah. It's very different. I would dress nice, go to a consult, and then go to a move and do the move, right? And then I would have another meeting that afternoon. So I'd have to go to my mom's house that lived in Missoula, change, take a shower, get ready, and then go to that meeting. Wow. I had networking at night, right? That's the stuff you see that people don't see me now. Yeah. I had to do that for years, boots on the ground. That's real.
I think that's one of the things that I hope if there's younger people watching this, because very similar story. And sometimes it's hard because I don't know if you ever run into this, but I find myself trying to insulate my team from the struggle. Like, where early on, how hard I had to work and how broke my wife and I were, and how like just things were so tough, and we were just so strapped, and I remember because there were times, when I was first getting things up and running, I usually would have appointments. I would take my last appointment at someone's house down in the valley at 8:00 in the evening. And so like, I'd be down in Pinesdale, for those of you guys who aren't from the Missoula area, it's a 45-minute drive from Missoula. And I would be starting appointments at 8:00.
How, like, I remember first meeting you when you were at my parents' house.
Yep. Yeah. Way
for my parents.
Back when. And so, but then it was one of those things where it's just doing everything I could to just get anybody who wanted to work with us. And it was the same for us. The same for me, is that I look back to where we started, and I'm just surprised. I'm like, oh Lord, thank you that people trusted me with their life savings, and,
Yes.
and nothing went
Yes.
bad. I mean, we had great stuff. And,
Sure.
and again, the thing was always working hard and always just being committed to finding a way to make it work for the clients. But that's been something I don't know if it's funny when you say like, I don't even know if my team knows that I did that. I know for a fact that there's things that I was doing that I never talk about with the team because it's like, not embarrassed, but I'm like, man, I don't want them to know that it was that hard. Like, I don't want them to know that like, man, this was one of those things where there was a lot of times where I'm just like, oh my God, I hope this works. And I remember like for me, the first time, I will never forget the first $100,000 client I had. Someone wanted to invest. It was like $110,000, $120,000. And I thought I'd hit the lottery. Like, oh my gosh, someone actually trusted me. And now it's like, oh, okay, that's just every day. But like, what was it that made you decide to be like, you know what, I am going to move forward? Was it, I know you've talked about just kind of having a purpose in life and just being able to make more of an impact. Did you just feel like you weren't doing that when you were working retail and you were ready to, and I know you talked about your grandfather, but what was it that was like the thing that for you was like, you know what, I'm going to do this? Because it's a huge change. It's a huge change from what you were doing to what you are doing. What kind of caused you to make that leap?
I think because I thought that I would be a district manager and I didn't want to leave my kids. I think it would go back to my family. And I like building things. And so I took it as a challenge. And when my business partner was asking me that he had faith in me to help build a company, like I wanted to meet that expectation. Yeah. And that I had the support of my husband, Sean, that he was like, we can do it. Like I financially can support us for some time. And we can do it together.
I have a question. When you were initially getting clients, what did that look like versus what it looks like now? Because I know a little bit about your, origin story with like getting referrals and getting all that kind of stuff versus now you have a lot of organic business coming in with websites and with social media and stuff like that. So I'm actually really curious about yours.
I would say similar situation,
okay,
right? Of like, you have to build the groundwork. And a lot of our referrals now come from the senior communities here in Missoula. Realtors are probably our number one referral source as well. Senior communities, financial advisors, insurance agents, doctors.
How did you build those relationships with those individuals?
Showing up at their doorstep.
Okay.
Talking about the services. Here's the thing about caring transitions. It's a needed service, right? If someone needs to downsize, if someone passed away and you need to sell the house to settle the estate, you simply need to move, we can help you with that. With white glove services, our team can come in, we can draw up a space plan, we can create a list of what you should take with you and walk you through that. And so I would say our clients now are more complex. And we are often called uncertified therapists because we are walking them through a little bit more because of our past that we've been able to understand the more complex issues. So we are getting more complicated clients, but we're able to navigate that. We get a lot of adult children from out of state that call. Mom and dad are here. Someone's passed away. Someone has fallen. They're in the hospital. They can't go home. Unless they go to a senior community. And so we're able to be their local family. Right?
Is your client base primarily older individuals, or is it sometimes people who just want to move and just don't want to deal with it? Or like, what does that look like for you?
I would say we specialize in seniors, but I will move anybody. I am more expensive than a basic mover because I do more, right? I'm not just putting things in boxes. I'm helping you make lifelong decisions. So I'll move anybody. I don't have ageism. But just our specialty is more kind of having those conversations about letting things go and navigating that downsizing.
What does that process look like? So when you walk in and you're working with someone, like, so someone walks in, they find you, you walk in after someone finds you, like, what is that initial conversation from like start to when you're actually like finished with your job? What does that look like? And then would you mind just tilting your mic a little bit closer? There you go. Yeah. So what does that process look like?
So we offer a free consultation. So I will come in and just have a discussion about life and where we're at. I go back to the big goal. What are we looking to do? I need to clean out this house because my mom passed away and I live out of state, right? And so then I create a plan for that. We do walk the house. I do open cabinets and drawers. There is no judgment. I have seen everything and anything in a house over the last 8 years, but I need to get a sense of what's in there.
Right.
Right. So our contract is not cookie cutter. It is truly a la carte based on the situation, based on what the client needs. And so I need to see the place and what we're dealing with, and then I can create a plan.
Okay.
And I stay there and create the plan with you. What are we doing? Are we moving you first? Are we having an auction first? Are we doing a clean out? Is there family members coming in?
What kind of dictates one or the other? Like what makes it where you decide to have an auction first versus moving someone first? Is it really just based on what the client's trying to accomplish, or is there things that after you've done however many of these, I'm sure hundreds, if however many, where you're just like, okay, knowing what I know, this is probably the path we want to go. Like, are you guiding that more often than not?
100%. I am guiding them 100% based on experience and based on a timeline. Like if we need to sell the house or the house is closing within 30 days, well, that means we need to move this day, which means we need to pack this day, which means we need to have an auction this day. So timing is one of those factors. But that's why we offer that free consultation, because there are too many factors that go in place for me to give you a plan over the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense there. And then, so as you're doing that, because you've talked as well as like, no judgment. I mean, because you've talked to your line of work that sometimes it is, you run across everything and people in all different walks of life. Is it typically people who are either transitioning into a home, or typically people who they're moving and they just, they're in a spot they can't handle all of that? Like, I guess when do you, like, what does that look like on a typical day to day, I guess?
I would say most of our calls that come into the office are from a referral source. So typically they are moving, they're downsizing, or there's been a life event that has happened, right? Now we will get the outliers of, I had a mom in Frenchtown a couple of years ago. She has 9 children and she's probably in her 40s, and she just needed to organize her pantry. That's it. And then we ended up organizing her husband's office because we were there. But we basically emptied out this huge walk-in pantry, organized it for the kids, their water bottles, all of the things, and labeled it. So we can do simple projects like that are just organization up to downsizing someone, a 5,000 square foot house. We're moving across the country. We're going to do an online auction on CT Bids, and then a full house clean out and sell the house.
How do you guys decide what you're going to auction, or how, like, because again, I'm sure you're dealing with people where it is hard for them to let go of some of these things, or it's hard for them to, like, again, if you're guiding the process, there's probably a, come to Jesus talk where it's like, hey, with all love, we need to let this go.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? Because I can only imagine, like, it's got to be extremely difficult.
It is difficult. And it depends on the client. And if we have a married couple, one is usually transactional and one is emotional, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we're bringing 2 members in, and one's working with one and the other spouse, and downsizing and really talking about letting go. But I've been trained on that. There's many different things that we've been trained on. My team's been trained on that, of how to navigate that. There's a little chart that we use. If you use it, do you love it? Do you actually need it? Or are you just holding on to the china set because you really want your kids to take it?
Right.
Note, your kids don't want your china.
Yeah.
Right. And so I sometimes am the bearer of bad news during that free consultation of like, your china hutch is not worth $5,000. You paid for that 50 years ago and you've gotten your use out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Nowadays, people are going to buy the china hutch for $50 and have to put in $400 to paint it to then resell it for $600 and barely make margin. Right? And so I'm happy to be, that sounding board. And there are some clients that get really frustrated with the value of things, but we know what fair market value is right now.
Is that just because, again, is it just because the data is so easy with everything posted online, just finding similar and like items? Or how do you, I guess that's another question too, is like, how do you know, oh, this is going to sell for between this and this? Like, what does that look like for you?
I don't always know exactly. I do know that china hutches will not sell for more than $200 based on the last 8 years in Missoula, Montana. And oak brown furniture from the 80s and 90s is not high value, right?
Yeah.
It's just not. Your floral hide-a-bed in the basement is going to the landfill.
Yeah.
Like, even the donation centers don't want it. I hate to break it to you. Your piano is not going to sell. So that's just based on me walking in hundreds of houses over the last 8 years and the data that shows on ctbids.com. So let's talk about that website, right? The great thing about ctbids.com is there's over 400 offices doing what I do nationwide. So there's hundreds of auctions going on all the time. Every auction is run a little bit different. We typically run ours Wednesday to Wednesday. That gives us time to market to social media, our website, to get more buyers there. Most of the bidding is going to happen the last hour. So I do have clients call me on day 1 and 2. Everything's still at $1. I'm like, I know. Yeah. Give us some time. It will be okay. And so it just will get bid up to fair market value. So maybe this bookcase would go for $50. And in 2 weeks,
yeah, that seems fair.
It may go for $120.
Someone gives me $50 for it, I'd probably take that.
You'd probably take it.
It's not
right?
level.
We know it's not level, yes.
So we talk about, right, again, you're downsizing, you're moving. I need to sell the things because what else are you going to do with it?
Right.
So let's sell it and give it to a new home and then use that money to pay for your move.
What did you do as far as like the systems? Because that's another thing you've talked about a lot, where it's like you're very systems oriented. And I've seen in working with a lot of small business owners that is not the way that most people think. I'm very much similar. This is the way. And I'm also a contingency planner where it's like, plan A is the way we want this to run, but I have plan B, plan C, plan D as well. And so like, it's pretty rare that I feel like I'm caught off guard with something because I've done this. And every time something doesn't go well, we talk about it as a team. We make sure that we come back and it's like, okay, it's almost like in the military when we do an AAR, it's like an after action report. It's like, this is what was supposed to happen. This is what actually happened. This is what we learned. Yeah. How did you, I guess, one, develop that mindset of like, I want to be systems based? And then how did you go about starting to build the systems? And I guess as a third part of that, with you being a franchise, how much of that is dictated to you by the home office?
That's a big question.
I know it's a big question, okay. But this is one thing. The reason I asked that is because, again, for people who are watching this, I want people who are maybe looking at being entrepreneurs, you know, maybe want that work-life balance and they want to do this in a way where it doesn't take them forever to become successful, to be able to, if they pull one gem. And when you're talking about systems, I am a believer systems are the way. Systems are how I live my life, like to the point where I even, like I find things to keep myself like learning. Like I'm teaching myself Chinese right now. Why? I don't know. I really don't because I wanted to and it's interesting and my son likes it as well. And so like even in the morning, like this morning, I'm asking him, you know, in Chinese, what do you want for breakfast? And he's responding to me and he's thanking me in Chinese. Why? I don't know. It's just awesome. Interesting. Yeah. But even that is like, I practice my Chinese when I'm driving home every night. It is it seems silly, but like that is the time I do it. And so it's the same every day. And so it's very regimented. So like, but that's made all the difference in my life. It's my daily habits, you know? Yeah. So
100%.
Well, and even like for me, I'm a very type B person. So it's not natural for me to like systems. Yeah. I do not like systems. I don't, but I think that it's so important to learn. And so like maybe what's a good place to, is that what you're asking? Like maybe what's like a nugget to pull from that?
Yeah,
or like a good place to start?
One, how did you get to the point where you saw the value of systems? And then two, how did you develop the systems that you're using? Yeah. And again, as a follow-up to question two is like, as a franchise, I always think of a franchise as like, they're going to tell you this is the system, you know? Sure. And it seems like you've had a lot of influence and a lot of control on what you're doing. So how have you been able to influence that type of change? So just... Yeah,
it's a lot. But I am very type A, like chaos stresses me out. And so I have to have structure. Pretty much every minute of my day is structured because I'm the most productive in that. Right. And I may have an hour here or half an hour there with free time. And so I check my emails, you know, sitting in my car, going to my next meeting or rehearse all of my data going into something in a presentation, things like that. But it's pretty structured because I know I have to, again, going back to my goals, at the beginning, we had to hit so many referral partners in order to get business, right? Those numbers came from home office. Yeah. Home office is great. The support is great if you follow the system that they give you, right? So here's a brochure. Here's your business card. Go sell. Go talk to 20 people today. Go talk, right? All of those numbers. And then I created that based on my sales volume because I'm no longer at zero sales. I'm at X amount of sales. So now I need to touch so many people to get those to continue the growth, right? And so that's kind of like the operations, the marketing side. As far as the back end side, in order for my business to grow, I needed to let go of some things. And I think entrepreneurs, that is the hardest part, is letting go, getting out of your own way. But I've read books, I've listened to podcasts. I can't tell you all of them, but I will tell you that getting into the right mindset, that 80% is better than 0, right? And so if someone could do my BDR role, someone can do my operations at 80%, they're not going to be identical to me,
Right.
but they'll get the job done, right? And so understanding that, and then I had to set up systems in order for them to do it the way I wanted them to do it.
Right.
Down to if I needed a script, right? Or this is the process when we go and we do a move. I have SOPs, standard operating procedures. I wrote them. And not with AI. This was years ago, right?
Yeah.
I wrote
Pre-AI, when things were back in the olden days, before I could just plug it into Grok. I was talking, I'm sorry to take this on a tangent. I just think about what I could have done with my life.
Gosh. Oh
if
my
I had
gosh,
AI growing up,
Yes.
and so that's one of the things, like with my son, I am actively teaching him. We use AI every day. I make him use it because it's such a powerful leverage tool because going back to the good old days, it's like when I was writing every script oh man. So anyways.
Yeah, it's great. I just used it last week. I'm like, I need interview questions for this position and they shoot me out. Right.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
easy.
I don't like that one. I like this one. Right. There's still a human element to that.
100%.
Right. But I love it. So I wrote SOPs. If I'm not going to be on the projects, again, I was going to the landfill. I was going to the moves. Now I'm taking myself out of that equation. I need to still have the local family on that project when I'm not there.
Yeah.
Right. So a little bit of control probably is how I got there, is writing what I wanted and the expectation for me to get there.
What about, and you mentioned some of the books, like you said books, because what you just described, I'm re-listening to a book called Who Not How. It's by the same people who wrote 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Yeah.
Just happened to be, I re-listened to that earlier this, into last year. And I was like, I'm going to go back to Who Not How, because that's the book. The idea is like, if you ask who can do this job, and you give it to that person, there's someone out there who would love to do that job and is great at it, and you don't have to learn it. The problem with that book though is also it's like, man, you better be in a good spot. You need some money to do this, So, but yeah, is there any books, like I can think of books in my life that have made such a huge difference that I go back to over and over. Has there been anything like that for yourself? Like something that,
I'm not a big one on going back to books. I go to other books. I will tell you the one I read last year was Let Them by Mel Robbins.
I love that podcast too.
Yes, it's a great podcast. I've done like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. And I think all of those, I take lessons from them. I do believe in reading is knowledge. And I love the actual book. I don't want to listen to an audiobook. I don't want to do the screen, like an actual book to sit on the couch and do that. I think is important. And so taking tidbits from those books that I've read, and creating my own life. I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be me. Like what
100%.
makes me special, right? Yeah. I don't know what that answer is, so don't ask me, but I'm working on that, right? As we continue to grow. So I want to go back to systems real quick. So creating systems to get out of your own way is really important. And a lot of people don't want to let go because their team's not going to be like them. Well, then create the system for them to follow.
That's right.
And then you hold them accountable. One of the growth that I had is I'm no longer driving the truck to move. I'm no longer moving the furniture or space planning the furniture. I'm working on bigger volume things, right? But I have a system in place that I know exactly what's going to happen on that project because I have processes in place. And so when you move up, when you level up, you still have to hold that team member accountable. I still have to have a conversation with that lead at the end of the day. How did it go? Okay, well, let's say I had an appointment and I wasn't able to have that conversation. I have a software system that I, again, created. It's called Trello, but it's a blank slate, and I had to create everything on that screen. But it's a free software system. It's a
What's
great
it called?
Trello, Trello.
Okay.
My leaders now, every single day, have to fill up a wrap-up. I created a template, so I know exactly what happened that day. What was the conversation with the client? How did the move go? How did the clean out go? What happened? How was our employees? I created that system because I was questioning it 5 years ago. I didn't know what was happening on the project. And then how do I invoice? How do I follow up with the client? If they call me and they say, you forgot my end table. Now I have all that information, right? That data. So create systems that work for you and then be able to pivot those systems.
When you said you created this, so is this is a software system that you guys are using? How did you go about creating something?
So I didn't create the system. So Trello is the platform.
Okay, so you use the platform.
I use the platform that home office suggested we use.
Okay.
It is not, but it's a blank slate. If you go on there, you're going to be like, what is this? I'm happy to walk anybody through because I love building things.
Yeah.
But any business can really use Trello.
Okay. Is it like a CRM or what does it do for you?
No, it's just blank. So it helps me. I upload photos of my consultation. I upload my notes from my consultation, and then my team can see that. So they know what type of house they're walking into. They have all of my notes from the consultation. They know what we're going to be doing on the project. They know how many boxes to take based on the photos. Right.
Yeah.
And then I created a template that they write what happened at the end of the day and what needs to happen next.
So a question I have for you then, how did you get your team to embrace that? Because I know that can be the hardest, not the hardest, but that can be an extremely hard part, is getting people to buy in and follow the systems, because sometimes people just want to do their own thing. I mean, has it been hard, or has it been that people saw your success and just were like, you know what, this works and this is the way? Or is it just you were like, this is how you're going to do your job? Like, how did you get the buy-in from your team to follow that system?
I would say most of the team, so I've had Trello for probably 6 years. So most of my team now was not with me 6 years ago. And so they come in, that's Trello. This is how you know what's going on. Because we don't talk every single morning. They come into the office, they're getting their boxes, they're getting their supplies, and they're leaving. So that is our communication tool. So it's not even like that's just what we use. When we first started it, we needed it because I used to do the consults, get the information for the client, and then be on the job. Well, then when I stepped away, they needed something to know what happened at the consult, right? So again, when I sign a contract, I become your local family. I want to know what you did as a career. I want to know what happened. I want to know the relationships that our clients have. And then I also want to give that to my leaders so they know who they're walking into. You're not just a person A for us, right? You're Virginia Smith.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing that makes us different than other movers.
That's huge. I mean, that's so powerful, because like, I know for us, we've grown to the point where we're working with it's like 700 plus households now. And, you know, just finding a way to never have someone feel like a number, you know, because with us, every conversation we have, we're dealing with someone's life savings. And so just being able to understand that this is one of the most important conversations that people are having. And it's hard. And so like one of the things that's like a small thing is we've started having our clients, when we're meeting with them, just uploading a photo or just a family photo, or just so we can see who they are and getting to know them, because it makes a really big difference when you're able to personally connect.
And even like on the individual plans that we have, when Grayson builds them out, he actually puts, I love that. I think it's so funny, but like on the cover page, if, I don't know, say somebody was a pro golfer, he would like put an AI image of them golfing.
I love that.
On the
really
cover
funny.
page. They'd be like, oh, this is definitely customized to me.
Yeah. And it's funny because people they notice it. Like, we'll have people who are like, we had a gentleman we were meeting with recently who one of his big goals is just spending time on their family ranch. And so, and we did, you know, on his plan, and that's something we've talked a little bit about in other, you know, podcasts, but with financial planning now, it's gotten to the point where it used to be very unilateral, meaning like, yes, there was a set of questions, but the plan would always give us a cookie cutter solution. I mean, your plan looked different than mine, and that your answers were different, but it was the same format. And now with AI and the way that's integrated into the planning process, everything is completely customized, completely bespoke. So it's super exciting because it allows us to make something that is truly one of a kind, built for this person. But so yeah, Grayson, he takes it to a spot where it's like, he puts photos of things that people like to do. And so it's like, but people notice, they're like, oh, that was really nice of him to do that, you know?
Yeah, the same guy with the ranch. He's like, there's a lot of horses in here.
Yeah, he did. But so with what you're talking about, like with the business growth, I know one thing that you had mentioned before when we were off camera is you talked about having an exit strategy before you're ready to exit. How did that kind of fit in with what you're doing? Do you think that was also a part of why you wanted the systems? I mean, is the idea that, hey, one day I plan to sell this, maybe, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying, you know, this is for sure, but like the reason I ask, because I know for me, I'm trying to build my business to sell down the road, because what I see happens in our industry is a lot of financial advisors will work too long. They'll work too long and then they get sick, they get hurt. And this is not a business where you can be on the sidelines. And so I fully intend on being able to sell my book of business somewhere in my early 60s so that I can get the top dollar for it and walk away when I'm still at the top, versus I've seen advisors where they wait too long, something happens and they have to fire sell it. Their spouse doesn't really know what to do with it. And so like, that's why I'm trying to build it to be simple, to have systems in place so the person who comes next can just walk in and take over. But yeah, what does that look like for you as far as like trying to plan for the future and, you know, I don't know if your goal is to ultimately sell it or to pass it on to a child. Like what does the future look like for you?
Yeah, I would say, so when I first became an entrepreneur, it was like, that was my goal. That was the excitement, right? And like build that up. And then you're like, then what? Right. And so it was like at the, a few years in, probably 4 years in, what does that really look like? I can't get to the next level of revenue, of location without more people. So I have to have a team. So I've got to have systems in order to have a team for them to continue, because people were hiring me. People knew Stephanie Silvin, sure, what was Caring Transitions, right? And so now I need to take my face out of it and it be Caring Transitions of Western Montana, regardless of who shows up at the consultation, right? They're following our systems. They know what's going to come, just like any other franchise, right? I always go back to McDonald's. You know what you're going to get, right? 100%. You know what the fries are going to taste like. So when you hire Caring Transitions here or in California, you're going to get the same service. I would probably say my service is the best out of the nation.
Of course, obviously.
I just think we go above and beyond for our clients. We don't nickel and dime you for every minute that we spend on your project, because we're really here to serve our clients as family. And so I would say the exit question just recently came up over the last couple of years of what that looks like. And we have to sign a 10-year agreement. So I will tell you, I'm at year 8. So I've got 2 years to decide what I'm going to do. I never thought of selling. I truly don't. I don't feel like I work. I'm literally helping family that becomes my family, right? So it's not work to me. So I don't have a desire to sell. And then I thought, my daughter is 10. Could I sign another 10-year agreement and then sell it to her in 12 years when she's 20? That's pretty amazing. Whoa.
Yeah,
that blew my mind.
To think about, right?
Again, right? I may be someone's 10X, but someone else is my 10X. Like 100%. I want the next level. What is that? I've never crossed my mind selling to my child. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I wanted a business that I could go on vacation and actually go on vacation, which was, I have done vacation, but I've got 3 kids and running a business and people were still calling me and my kid's like, Mom, get off your phone. So that was another reason of like hiring people and having systems. Yeah. And so what is that exit strategy? I don't think I'm ever going to be out of the business fully. What else am I going to do? Right. Like, I love what I do.
I know what you mean.
So do I buy another location? Maybe, right? Do I have, and so again, then I'm at another level. And then am I seeing my clients? Probably not. That's my favorite part.
What do you see the 10X for you? Because I know for me, I have my goals of what I think like where I'd like to be and and I've kind of gotten to the point where it's funny because I am at what originally my 10X was. I'm making what I'm doing. And the nice thing with our line of work is, we get paid residually as long as clients aren't leaving. And so I'm a very big believer is if you're giving away more value than you're ever taking, people don't leave. And so that's one of the things that I've made such a huge part of what I want to do. But there's more to it, but like, what do you see for you? Like, what's the 10X look like? And when you think of your perfect world scenario, where do you see yourself?
That's where I'm at right now in life, trying to figure out what that really looks like. I would say building something. I don't know what that is. Probably like my family legacy, my family something. I don't know. Is it maybe buying another business? Is it being an investor in buildings? Is it buying another franchise? I'm kind of at that point in my life that my business is running really, really well. And we're still growing. I have a great team but I'm like here now. Right. And as entrepreneurs, we're never like that. I don't like this spot.
Are you comfortable?
I am comfortable. So I'm ready for a challenge. Yeah. 100%. So we're dabbling in a couple of different things in investment properties and looking at other businesses right now. My husband's set to retire in a couple of years. So what is he going to be doing? What does that look like? So yeah, I think that's a good question. Come back to me in a couple of years.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is you're spot on though, because I don't talk a ton about this, but when I always had a goal when I was younger, I was like, if I get to the point where I'm making $100,000 a year residually, I'm probably just going to semi-retire. Yeah. And I hit that goal right as COVID started. And so I did for 2020, I basically didn't try and add a lot of new clients. I really just kind of dialed back and enjoyed life. And, I was working maybe 15 hours a week, if that, 10 to 15 hours a week. But I was, shooting a ton. I was doing jujitsu a ton. I was doing all the things I wanted to do. And what happened is I got so bored. Within like about 9 months, I was so incredibly bored. And then I started talking to clients. And one of the really great things about our line of work, especially with Josie being as young as she is. But this is, I started doing this when I was 19, is that for so long in my career, I was talking to people who were substantially older than me and had substantially more money than I did. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that so few people ever truly retire. And that's by choice. It's
Correct.
Most people, they don't want to have to work, but they still want to have that something that they're doing that gives them purpose. And so that gave me so much peace, because it made me realize that like, it's not like an end state or an end goal. It's realistically, you're probably going to do something for most of your life by choice. And so going back to that idea of work-life balance, of being able to vacation when you want to vacation and just do those things as well, that's always been something that has, really resonated with me. And so now, I don't know, kind of the same thing. I know what I want to make as far as income, and I think I know what it would take to get there, but we did something in Biz. So Biz is the business development group that we're in. And so a while back, where we were looking at goal setting, and I was teaching on goal setting. And what I did is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book called Traction, but they have what's called, I think they call it the VTO, Vision Traction Organizer. I forget what VTO stands for, but essentially it's like planning long-term. And I had set 5-year goals. And I got to, and I hadn't looked at it because for about a year, I would look at it every day. And I'm very, like, every day I have my daily affirmations. I look at my goals every day. I do all the things that the books talk about because they work. I do
Correct.
all those things. I spend the first hour of every day on my biggest project, just because I'd stopped doing that for a while. But one of my great friend Sam was talking about it over the holidays with me. Is like, yeah, the little things never go away, Robert. So you have to spend that first hour doing what's most important, because the little things never stop. Mm-hmm. But going back to the goals that we'd set, I was doing this goal class, and I went back to my initial like handwritten goal set, and it's like, oh my gosh, I was within just a couple $1,000s of income of what I wanted to be at that time. And I wrote out how I thought it was going to happen. And it's funny because I was like just shy of the goal that I hit, but it was completely different the way I got there, And so that's kind of that planning of like, oh, where do we go from here? Is like, I have an idea of what I want it to look like, but who knows what that path is going to. I know the big thing though. Next big thing, I want to get a lake house on Flathead. Just a condo, just a little condo. They're not
love it.
Not crazy expensive, but that's the next big thing.
Yeah, there. $1 million, 1.2. So can we go back to, you were saying your financial goal, right? Mm-hmm. So I was making about $60K when I was at Eddie Bauer, and I said if I can replace that, because it wasn't about the money for me. Yeah. Right. Being an entrepreneur is not about the money, because you don't get it right away. No. Let me tell you. And you're going to work more than 40 hours a week
100%.
At the beginning. Yep. You have to grind, right? Again, you see me now. I'm not working 40 hours a week right now, but I was, and I hit a brick wall 6 months in, but I kept going. I think that's what they just get discouraged, right? You can talk about the stats of businesses closing because people give up, right?
That's so true.
You have to keep going, and you have to have systems in place, and you have to have a great team around you, and you have to get over the hurdles. But one of my goals was to make the 60, and then I made the 60, and same thing. I was like, well, if I can make 80, like that's great pay in Missoula, right?
Yeah, Missoula.
I was super excited. And I recently listened to a podcast that talked about money is like oxygen if you don't have it.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. But once you have money, I don't worry about going to the grocery store. And I don't say that egotistically, but I don't have to think about the grocery store. I don't have to think about paying our bills. Like we're good, right? Yep. But I do it for purpose. I 100%. Do it because there are seniors out there that need advocacy. I do it for people because they can't do it on their own. Mm-hmm. I have people calling me that don't live here. They're like, please help me. They're bawling on the phone to me. My mom is a hoarder. I have tried for 10 years to help her. Please help her. Great, I'm a third party. I can come in, right? I just talked to a lady the other day. Her son had a traumatic brain injury. She now has to uproot his entire life and move him to Arizona. Wow. Well, she needs to clean out the house. She has right? I can help her with that. Mm-hmm. That is my purpose on this earth, is to help people. That's awesome. I have a strategy. I have a system in place that can do it. It's pretty black and white, but it's that human element, right? It's no longer about the money. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, I don't need to be a millionaire, right? Mm-hmm. People call me a millionaire with my assets. Sure, right? As a financial advisor, there's a lot of millionaires out there. Mm-hmm. It's not about the money. Don't go into entrepreneurship for the money.
Well, a lot of people, I think, go into it because, like you were saying, it's like oxygen, and we don't often think about the air that we breathe because it's in abundance. And so if you have enough money to cover what you need to cover, you no longer have to think about it. And so I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't want to think about money. Yeah. Where I think as for, people who are low income earners, that's all they think about because they need to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been on both sides of that. I know what it's like when you don't have enough money.
Correct.
And there's a part of me that always playing a little scared, like always, because when I got out of the Army and I was starting from scratch and I had no income and I was living in a little basically studio apartment that was $500 a month, like I was scared of like making enough just to be able to afford that. And so there's that part of me that always is like, I'm going to keep working because I'm never going backwards. But I think that that's something like you were talking about, like your schedule when you were first starting. And I just hope that people understand, maybe as they're watching this and they think that like, oh, I'm just going to go into business, or I'm going to, sell real estate, or I'm going to do this, whatever. Like, it's going to be easy. I'm going to make all this money. It's like, just erase that. You might get lucky. You might be that one person who makes a ton of money up front, but most of the people I talk to, it's like you are working crazy hours. You sometimes are making less than minimum wage if you look at the hours you're working versus the income you're making. And it takes so much effort to get it off the ground. But then once it's off the ground and you have to me, what you're saying is spot on. Like, I understand, like, I love that no one can put their thumb on me. No one can call me and say I have to come into work. No one can tell me I can't go to my kids' play. I can't go to a game. I can't coach because that's going to interfere with my work schedule. No one's telling me, like, no one can do that to me. No, when I go on vacation, a lot of times I forget to tell the team. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'll be out of town next week. Be gone for a week. Like, I love that. That to me is worth so much. And that's a huge thing. And of course the money is important because like you have to be able to live and do all that stuff. But once you solve that problem, then I really do think it gets to the point where it's like, I just want to be there for my kids, and like life goes like this, like, people die like this all the time. And just being able to have that impact. And I see with friends of mine who they have jobs that pay them a lot, but their time, they don't control it. And that to me is just the worst thing, because that takes me back to like being in the Army. It's like being gone for so long. And that's why I got out of the Army. I was just like, I never saw my daughter. And it's just like, I'm happy to make a difference, and I'm glad I was doing what I was doing. But at the end of the day, I was like, I need to take care of my family first, And so that just having the freedom to do that, I think that's part of like.
But can I make 2 points on that?
Please.
I don't always pick up my kids from school. I sometimes have to call my father-in-law and be like, hey, can you pick up the kids? My meeting's going too long, right? Because that's life. And so I also I go to all sports because that's like a commitment for me. But there are going to be times that you're going to miss out as an entrepreneur, right? Don't think again that we get to go to all of the things and do the things.
Especially early on.
And I felt guilty about that at first. Right?
Especially as a mom and all the pressure.
Especially as a mom. Here's the thing. I no longer feel guilty. And I need those stay-at-home moms to make those pretty little cupcakes. I don't want to make them, right? I will be at the event. I will support them, but I'm also teaching my kids so many things that those stay-at-home moms cannot teach. We need all of us, truly, right? But I think that there's seasons, like my summer season is insane. But one non-negotiable I did 2 summers ago is I took off Fridays.
That's awesome.
So we could go to the lake. We have a lake place.
Nice.
It's not a house on there, but we have a lake place.
That's great.
And but I made that commitment to my family, and I could do that. But guess what? The Monday through Thursday, I was working my tail off. So again, I get up 5:05 every day or 5:15 to work out. That's my time. I no longer get up to work out to be fit. It's mental for me, right? And it's discipline. And there's many books on that too. But I think having that time to then be at work and then be with my kids, it's all discipline. So if I want Fridays off, in my mind, I've got to earn it.
100%.
I've got to hire somebody to work on Fridays or when I'm on vacation, and then I got to work my butt off the other 4 days.
With your workout, we didn't really go into this, but I know you'd mentioned off camera as well, is about, that you lost like 25 pounds or something.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. So, I mean, just going back to discipline, daily habits, and you're giving me crap about my Ghost Energy drink because I know you eat better than all of us. All right. But what did that start off as well? Because again, I know that another thing that I don't want to say bothers me, but it makes me sad is that I think people sell themselves so short in life. And I'm sure there's someone who's looking at me and like, you're selling yourself short, of course, because it's levels. There's levels to everything.
Yes.
But I am very committed to being overall a healthy person. I'm going to work out 5-6 days a week. I'm going to eat pretty decent. I'm going to drink my energy drinks. I still do that. But it's because I want to be healthy. I want to live a long life. And this is me being just maybe I view my role as the husband and father in our household pretty traditionally, where it's like at the end of the day, my job is to provide for and protect my family. So I need to be able to fight when I need to fight, run when I need to run. That's why I take all that stuff serious. But like for yourself, like what was what was the catalyst that made you say like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to get in shape. What happened there?
Well, it was probably a book or a podcast, again, to be honest with you. But without our health, we have nothing.
100%.
Right. And I deal with seniors again at the end of life. We're talking about what was, right? Oh, remember when. And I never want to be like that until I'm older. If you're middle age, I turned 40 this month. And if I'm talking about, oh, remember when we did that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not living anymore. Stop that. What are we going to go do?
Yeah.
I want to create a memory. I want to do something, right?
Because you were going back and you were talking about experiences are more important than anything else.
100%.
And you want to be able to experience those fully.
Yes. So I have to be healthy. Remember, I have a 6 and 8 and 10-year-old. I have to be able to run after them. I have to keep up with them. I have to beat them at basketball. Listen, I'm not going to let my 8-year-old son win at basketball. I am competitive with my children as well. But I had 3 kids. I gained 50 pounds every pregnancy. Wow. I was not healthy in my eyes. So not this summer, 2024 summer, I didn't like myself in bathing suits and I was having to buy new clothes and they were fitting snug. And I was like, wow, are my clothes shrinking? I literally said that to myself. And then I was like, no, you've gained weight. I was the heaviest I was without being pregnant. And so I did what I do for business. I found a resource. I found a trainer and I got a plan and I committed to 24 weeks and I could have done a 16-week. And I said, you know what? We have to eat for the rest of our life. So I want to get educated on what I need to eat. You can do anything for 30 days. The 75 hard, right? You can do all of that. Everyone flops afterwards, right? I wanted sustainability and long-term. Teach me how to eat in all seasons of life, which she did. Her name is Kelly Reamer. She's great. She's amazing. It's all online. She teaches you about food. And now I track my macros. But you can't go from 0 to tracking macros. You have to take the baby steps. Same thing in business. You can't go from 0 to being a millionaire. You have to do the boring, basic, daily things to get to the next level, right? And so then I did the 24 weeks and it was in July and I felt amazing. And I said, I want to stay on and continue to be a maintenance client. So I'm still with her today.
That's awesome.
I just signed up 2 weeks ago to do a Spartan race.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, good job.
Right? I'm a goal setter. So working out sometimes is not fun, but if you have a goal to achieve, you'll stay, right? Yeah. And I was working out the other morning and I was like, this is my time, but this is a commitment to me. We as entrepreneurs and wives and husbands and humans make commitments to everybody else, but what about yourself?
Yep.
Right? And if
especially as a mom,
yeah,
I bet that's really hard.
It is hard, but not now that I have the mindset, right? Without my health, without me being in a good mental state, physical state, I am crap to my kids. Truly, right? If you're drinking alcohol, if you're staying late at work, if you're not doing what you need to be doing and making healthy meals for your family, you're not being a good mom. You're not being present in your life. And so I meal prep on Sunday. Listen, it takes an hour to an hour and a half. Do it when you make dinner or do it when you make lunch. It's not a big deal, right? I don't have a process. Maybe that's a new business I could start. There we go. It's not hard once you have the tools of what to make, what meal to do. And I always felt like, oh, I'm taking away, again, time from my kids. But guess what? I'm feeding them good meals.
Yeah,
they're not getting red
lives.
dye.
Yep.
Yes, I'm showing them that eating healthy will give them a better life. So now I love it. It's kind of my love language of making my egg bag for me and my husband's morning, making, baked oatmeal or whatever it is to have in the fridge and getting your fridge stocked for the week. That sets me up for success in not only my health, my internal health, but my mental health and being present with my kids, being present at work. I don't have to think about all of those things. But again, it took me 6 months to even get there. And now I'm maintaining a year later.
That's so awesome. I mean, what you're saying too is something that we talk about. I mean, you're talking about just that compounding effect, just the slight edge, the little things every day. And it's something I feel like we end up talking about every time. And I, again, am so grateful for the line of work that we're in because that's our whole job is talking to people about like this small little habit consistently will bell curve into a completely different outcome versus if you just don't do it. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people miss is like, it's so easy to not do these things. Like it would be easy for you not to meal prep, okay. But then like, what does that look like for you, for your family long-term? Or like, even just with you having the awareness to be like, oh, I don't like the way I feel in my clothes right now. I don't like this. I think that again, as a society, we kind of get to this point where it's like, oh, it's all right. Everyone does this. And again, God bless America. People can live their lives however they want. God bless America. But I'm just the same way. I was like, nope, I expect more from myself because I want to be healthy. Same story. Like my son, he's 7. It's like, all right, well, I'm almost 40. And so, like, again, even with jujitsu, I was talking to one of the dads just recently. I was like, man, you better start training soon because your son's getting really good. And if you don't start training, it's only going to be a few years where you won't be able to discipline him. And again, he's a great kid. I don't think he'll have to worry. But I was like, but I don't ever want to be in a position where my 12 or 13-year-old son can beat me up because, like, if he doesn't respect the authority, it's like things get out of hand pretty quick. So
here's one thing I want to say also on that is I always think about being a better version of me.
Yes.
I am not comparing myself to anybody else. I hate to break it, right? But I'm more worried about things that surround me.
Yeah.
Being a better version of me. That's my competition.
Yep.
Right? When I'm lifting weights, when I'm running, when I'm being a mom, like I want to be a better mom compared to I was 2 months ago.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
I think people compare themselves to all these social media people. You don't even know who they are. Stop.
Yep.
Other people's opinions are none of your business.
I was just talking to someone about that. I was like, what you think about me is none of my business.
No.
I was telling my daughter, I was literally just saying this to her because it's so true. Because again, you start worrying about, well, what does this person think? I don't care. You can think whatever you want to think about me. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing for my family. I know what I'm doing for our household. And I'm very, very similar where it's like, I'm worried about being the best Robert that I can be. I don't care about someone else. And even just like people like, oh, I want to be rich, famous. I don't. I want to be rich and anonymous. I don't want anyone to know who I am, but we're doing a podcast, so people will. But at the end of the day, it's like, that is what matters more, is just like being the best version of myself that I can be. Man, we've been going for almost 2 hours now. It's starting to stack up. I guess as we start wrapping up, is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to share? I mean, this is your chance again for, young people out there who probably be seeing this, or even people who are maybe looking at what they want to do moving forward. I mean, is there anything that you'd love to share before we finish? Books, podcasts that you're listening to that have been impactful, things that you think have made a solid difference for you and kind of guided you to be where you're at? Or, is there anything else that you can think of?
I would say one of the biggest things is mindset. My mindset has definitely shifted, and it's probably a accumulation of all of those books and podcasts that I read, right? It's all in how you look at things, truly, but you have to get to that point, right? So I would say mindset is a really big one for me, and just pick up different books. Don't pick up books about mindset, but pick up books about what you have a passion for, and then take little tidbits from that. I do love Cody Sanchez right now. She's a podcast. She's a billionaire that runs a bunch of different businesses. She's around my age. She left Wall Street and started being an entrepreneur, right? I love those stories, where I think you just have to go for it, right? And I think the last thing I'll say is my word of the year is venture, which is meaningful risk with purpose. Right?
I like that.
That's where
Where did you come up with that? Why?
Just AI, looking up words of the year and what do I want to do. I do a vision board every year. I have them all in my closet. My husband didn't think that I kept them, but I have kept them all to look at.
Do you ever go back and look at them?
Not a ton, right? Because I want to look forward. But when I hung up my new one, I took down my old one and I looked at the other few. And yeah, I've come a long ways. And I think what we focus on is what happens. Whatever you focus on, good or bad, right? So focusing on, again, being the best version of you, what does that look like? And if you have to start with health first, then start with health. I committed to 24 weeks, right? The year is going to pass.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what you do, the time is going to pass, right? And you are the only one that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. I'm sorry to tell you. When someone gives me a 2-week notice, which doesn't happen very often, but I always say, listen, kudos to you.
God bless America.
You're the only one that's going to be with you forever. You have to be your own advocacy.
And you got to like yourself.
You got to like yourself, and you have to feel good about all your decisions that you make every single day.
Yep.
Right? And so being the best version of you, again, would probably be my biggest takeaway is how do you become the best version of you? What can you do today and be consistent on it? Right?
I love that.
That's perfect start to like the new year too.
There you go. 2026. Let's go. Well, Stephanie, as we wrap up, this has been great. I am so glad, and I hope we can do this again. Could you just share real quick, if someone wanted to connect with you, if they wanted to use your services, how could they find you and how could they get a hold of you?
Sure. So caringtransitionswesternmontana.com is our basic website. ctbids.com is our online platform where we sell things. I'm on Instagram, CT_Western Montana, and Facebook, just Caring Transitions Western Montana. So we're pretty much everywhere. You can find me, or just Stephanie Silvin as well.
Well, this has been great. I am so excited. I think this is the perfect way to kick off 2026.
Yeah, it's great.
We were all, I think, a little nervous when we started, but man, this went well. I'm so
great.
glad we were able to do this, and this is great. So thank you so much. Josie, do you have anything before we
I
wrap
don't think
up?
so.
No?
I'm
All
good.
right. Well, guys, thank you for watching. This has been a fun time. So until next time, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.